12 black child stars who completely vanished from Hollywood. They were everywhere, on your television, on your lunchbox, in your kids' imaginations. Then, one by one, they simply disappeared. 12 black child stars who made an entire nation laugh and then vanished from the spotlight that once adored them. One earned $18 million before he turned 18 and died with almost nothing. One walked away at the very top to become a teacher, and one carried a secret battle the cameras never showed, fighting it almost completely alone. These weren't just child stars. They were real children, handed to an industry that rarely protected them. If you grew up watching these faces, drop a comment below and subscribe to Hidden Celebrity Stories, where their real stories finally get told. Gary Coleman. There was a stretch of years when no child on earth was more famous than the little boy from Zion, Illinois, and the cruelest part of his life is how much that fame cost him. Gary Wayne Coleman entered the world on February 8, 1968, carrying a kidney disease that halted his growth and held him at 4 feet 8 inches for the rest of his days. By 14, he had already endured 2 kidney transplants. At 10, NBC cast him as Arnold Jackson in Different Strokes, and across 8 seasons, he carried that program on his small shoulders. His question, "What you talkin' 'bout, Willis?" entered the national vocabulary, and he collected 3 People's Choice Awards in a row between 1980 and 1983. The money was staggering for a child. Close to $100,000 per episode, an estimated $18 million by the time he turned 18. Yet when he finally inspected the accounts, barely $220,000 survived. The very adults entrusted with his future, parents, a manager, had hollowed out his trust. A 1989 lawsuit returned a judgment of $1.28 million. But the deeper wound, the inability to trust another living soul, never closed. The industry that had crowned him offered nothing to the adult he became. He worked security. Photographers captured him in uniform and peddled the images as cruel comedy. Bankruptcy followed in 1999. His health eroded through transplants and dialysis, and a turbulent 2007 marriage only deepened his isolation. He even ran in California's chaotic 2003 recall election, one more strange chapter in a life that never found steady footing. On May 26, 2010, he fell at his Utah home and suffered a brain hemorrhage. 2 days later, life support was withdrawn. He was 42. For those of you who laughed along with Arnold every week, the lesson is bitter. The boy who delighted a nation was devoured by the people closest to him and left with little beyond a catchphrase the world still repeats, usually without remembering the human being who paid so dearly for it. Emmanuel Lewis. For every viewer still aching over Gary Coleman, here stands the gentle counterpoint. A man who walked the same treacherous road and somehow arrived, intact. Emmanuel Lewis was born March 9, 1971, in Brooklyn, the youngest of 4, shepherded through life by his mother, Margaret, a computer science professional whose steady hand became the secret to everything that followed. No physician ever pinned down why he stopped growing at 4 feet 3 inches, but on camera that detail dissolved entirely. What registered was a warmth that filled the frame. His path opened through advertising. Over 60 commercials, including the Burger King spot that drew an ABC executive who sensed this child could anchor a whole series on charm alone. In 1983, at 12, he became the title character in Webster, conceived in part as the network's answer to Different Strokes. It ran 6 seasons and reached 150 episodes through syndication, brought him 4 straight People's Choice Awards from 1984 to 1987, placed him on 4 TV Guide covers, and made him a phenomenon abroad. His single City Connection climbed to number 2 on Japan's Oricon chart. a height most American performers never glimpse. Then, when Webster concluded in 1989, he did the thing almost no former child idol manages. He exited without wreckage. No tabloid spiral, no public breakdown, simply a young man choosing a different life. He enrolled at Clark Atlanta University and earned a degree in theater arts in 1997, launched a music label, and surfaced only occasionally, on his own schedule, in projects like Michael Jackson's Liberian Girl video, fitting, given his famous friendship with the singer. Today, at 55, Emmanuel Lewis divides his time between Atlanta and Los Angeles, immersed in masonry, charitable work, and music production, healthy and unhurried. The culture preserved him as Webster, frozen forever as a small boy. But his finest accomplishment unfolded long after the studio lights dimmed, a deliberate, peaceful, dignified adulthood. In the brutal arithmetic of child stardom, that quiet survival is worth more than any statuette he ever lifted. Lark Voorhees. For countless young, black girls who switched on their televisions during Saturday morning programming, she was a mirror they had rarely been granted, poised, fashionable, and genuinely funny. Born Lark Holloway on March 25, 1974, in Nashville, Tennessee, before her family settled in Pasadena, she took her first acting steps at age 2. The role that immortalized her was Lisa Turtle, introduced on Good Morning, Miss Bliss in 1988 and carried into Saved by the Bell, where she stood as the only black member of the corps cast across one of the era's most watched teen ensembles from 1989 to 1993, earning Young Artist Awards in 1990 and 1993. At the show's zenith, she was inescapable, gracing magazines, walking red carpets, and appearing in music videos for Boys Toucan Men's On Bended Knee, Montel Jordan, and Kenny Lattimore. She belonged to a small group of black teen actresses who reached that altitude of mainstream recognition on a series not framed around race, and she later demonstrated real range in daytime dramas, such as Days of Our Lives and The Bold and the Beautiful. By the mid-2000s, though, her public moments dwindled, and viewers sensed a shift in the cadence of her interviews. In 2012, her mother disclosed that Lark was managing schizoaffective disorder, a condition that reshapes thought, mood, and perception. She rejected the diagnosis at first, later acknowledged it, and in time discussed it candidly and with notable courage. For years, she found herself left off the guest lists for Saved by the Bell reunions, an omission she described openly as wounding, before returning for a cameo in the 2020 reboot that stirred deep emotion among longtime fans. Lark Voorhees is 52 now. Her chapter resists the easy label of a fame-ruined cautionary tale. It is, instead, the account of a woman who wrestled with an adversary no audience could see, often without the support she deserved, and who nonetheless kept finding her way back toward the screen that first revealed her light. That persistence, not the diagnosis, is the truest measure of her. Orlando Brown. Not every fade is gentle. His unraveled in front of everyone, and then, when much of the public had quietly written him off, it began improbably to mend. Born December 4, 1987 in Los Angeles, Orlando Brown stepped before a camera at 7 in 1995's Major Payne beside Damon Wayans, and from there assembled a body of work most young performers would envy. A recurring turn as 3J on Family Matters, the lead voice of Disney's animated Fillmore, the voice of Sticky Webb on The Proud Family, and most indelibly, Eddie Thomas, Raven Baxter's devoted and uproarious best friend on That's So Raven, the role that helped push that series past the milestone of 100 episodes, a network first. When the show closed, the parts thinned and the trouble thickened. A string of arrests, public confrontations, and a visible struggle gave way to a 2018 television appearance that alarmed everyone who saw it. He seemed lost, voicing claims that were demonstrably untrue, and the internet chose ridicule over recognition of a man clearly in pain. Stretches of rehabilitation alternated with stretches of homelessness. The chasm between the radiant boy of Saturday afternoon reruns and the figure in those headlines broke the hearts of the people who'd grown up with him. But the page kept turning. By late 2025, reports indicated Brown had reclaimed his sobriety, married, embraced fatherhood, returned to making music, and opened a restaurant, Orlando Brown's $1 Million Fried Chicken, in Phoenix, Arizona. He is 38 years old. His story remains unfinished, and that may be the most hopeful sentence anyone can offer about him. There is something in the human spirit that refuses to stay buried, and his recent years suggest he found it again. For an older audience that has watched loved ones battle addiction and emerge on the other side, his comeback is not a punchline at all. It is a quiet, hard-won testament to the possibility of beginning again, no matter how far one has fallen. Brandon Hammond. In 1997, a boy not yet out of his early teens carried an entire motion picture on the strength of a single, steady voice. And if black cinema shaped your youth, his face lives somewhere in your memory, even if his name has slipped from reach. Brandon Hammond, born in 1984, had already logged 3 notable film credits before most kids finish middle school, a turn in Tim Burton's star-packed Mars Attacks. In 1996, an appearance in The Fan opposite Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes that same year, and earlier work in the 1995 anthology, Tales from the Hood. But the performance that marked him as extraordinary was Ahmad in Forrest Whitaker's Soul, Food in 1997. As a child absorbing grief, family rupture, and the impossible task of keeping the people he loved from drifting apart, he delivered work critics described as wise beyond his years. His narration threading the whole film together, Soul Food opened above $11 million on a modest budget and settled permanently into the canon of black cinematic culture. Every external sign pointed toward a long, weighty career. And then, almost wordlessly, he stepped off the screen, but in a manner that should ease rather than worry you. No arrest sheet, no tragedy, no descent. Something stiller, and frankly, more admirable. Brandon Hammond decided he would rather build stories than star in them, migrating behind the camera into screenwriting and independent filmmaking, drawn more to shaping a narrative than to standing inside one. That is a creative maturity precious few child actors ever attain. Because his projects live largely beyond the mainstream's glare, most who cherished Ahmad never witnessed his second act. Yet that second act made him a craftsman, an author of stories on terms he set himself. Brandon Hammond is approximately 41 today. He did not flame out, and he did not crumble. He merely grew along a path the cameras were never built to trace. And the thoughtful boy who once narrated a family's survival would, surely, have nodded in understanding. Marcus T. Polk. He was the kid brother an entire audience took into its heart. And beyond the glow of that household sitcom, his journey bent toward turns far harder to witness. Born Marcus Tyrone Polk in 1986, he climbed into the industry through commercials and modest television parts before claiming the role that shaped his boyhood. Miles Mitchell, the impish, scene-pilfering younger brother of Brandy's character on the UPN series Moesha, broadcast from 1996 to 2001. The show was quietly revolutionary in its depiction of a black middle-class family in Los Angeles. And Marcus, springy and funny and physically fearless, made Miles one of the most memorable youthful faces of that television landscape. After Moesha, he stretched toward film, surfacing in the 2005 roller rink comedy Roll Bounce with Bow Wow and Nick Cannon, and the 2006 dance drama Take the Lead, opposite Antonio Banderas, evidence of a young man laboring to outgrow the part that defined him. For a window, the climb looked possible. It did not last. The roles contracted, the calls came less often, and by the close of the 2000s, the leads had evaporated. Then arrived the headlines that fastened themselves to a name and refuse release. In 2013, he was arrested following a domestic dispute, drawing a domestic violence charge, and 2014 brought a DUI arrest after a traffic stop. The incidents did not extinguish his career, but they recast the narrative, transforming the beloved Miles into a cautionary aside in articles about child stars who couldn't translate fame into adulthood. Throughout it all, he refused to vanish entirely. Independent films, small screen appearances, and music recorded under his own name, his energy channeled into rap and regional performances that kept his name in motion even when the spotlight would not return. Marcus T. Paulk is roughly 39. His story occupies the uncomfortable middle ground. Neither a clean vanishing nor a triumphant resurrection, just a man still laboring, still reaching, still present, and in that stubborn persistence, there is a recognizable, unglamorous human courage. Camille Winbush. She was quick-witted and guarded, barely into her teens when audiences embraced her most. And the road she has traveled since has proven more candid than the tidy endings the industry tends to prefer. Born February 9, 1990, in Culver City, California, Camille Winbush had become a polished professional by the age of 10, having debuted at 4 on the series Viper in 1994, then lending her voice to Disney's Recess and appearing alongside Forrest Whitaker in 1999's Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai. The character that defined her, though, was Vanessa Nessa Tompkins on The Bernie Mac Show, whom she inhabited from 2001 to 2006. The eldest of 3 children deposited into Bernie's reluctant care, a teenager armored in attitude and intelligence, who gradually exposed the tenderness beneath. The portrayal brought her 3 NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, along with a Young Artist Award in 2006. When the series ended, the assignments continued. Guest appearances on Grey's Anatomy and Criminal Minds, a recurring presence on The Secret Life of the American Teenager. Yet the breakthrough lead that vaults a young actress into the next tier never materialized. The corridor open to young black actresses remained as cramped as it had always been. So she reinvented herself more than once. A trained pianist, she had her voice featured on a Criminal Minds soundtrack. As a teenager, she owned and operated an ice cream parlor in Pasadena, earning a Young Entrepreneur honor from a major business magazine in 2004. And in 2021, to the surprise of many, she announced, entirely without apology, that she had opened an OnlyFans account, explaining frankly that residual checks from her sitcom years had run dry and she needed to generate her own income. Camille Winbush is 36. For anyone who knows how abruptly the industry can stop dialing your number, her story rings with a hard, familiar truth about what happens when the work disappears, and about the self-possession of a woman who decided to answer for herself rather than await rescue. Dee Dee Davis. She was 4 years old when she stepped onto a soundstage and quietly commandeered every scene she entered. And across the 25 years since, she has never once sought to seize another. Born April 17, 1996, in Olympia Fields, Illinois, Dee Dee Davis was cast at 5 as Brianna, the baby girl of the Bernie Mac Show. No one anticipated that a kindergartner would become the emotional center of one of the most acclaimed black sitcoms of its generation. Yet that is precisely what unfolded. The program ran 5 seasons, capturing a Peabody Award in 2001 and a Primetime Emmy for its writing. The rapport between Bernie Mac and pint-sized DD, the towering comic, and the unflappable child produced something television almost never achieves. Two performers genuinely raising each other's work. Her saucer-wide eyes, her crisp deliveries, and a confidence that seemed impossible for someone so young lent the show a sweetness that offset Mac's blistering edge with perfect balance. When it concluded in 2006, she was 10, and she made a decision that, for a child at the summit of her fame, bordered on astonishing. She stepped back. No string of Disney movies, no recording contract, no reality franchise. She enrolled in school, matured away from public view, and grew into a young woman beyond the grasp of an industry that so seldom safeguards the children it profits from. Bernie Mac himself died in August 2008 of complications from pneumonia, at only 50, and never saw the woman she would become. But the grace with which she has guarded his show's legacy speaks volumes about what he built around her. Today, at 29, Dee Davis is a mother, present online in a warm and understated way, and by every indication genuinely content. She authored a rare kind of ending, one the entertainment world almost never produces. A child star who walked away on her own terms before anything could strip that choice from her. Baby girl grew up, and she did it beautifully. Taj Mowry. Say the name Mowry, and the mind leaps instantly to sister. Yet there was a third Mowry who constructed a long, steady career on his own quiet terms. Born May 17, 1986, in Honolulu, Hawaii, Taj is the younger brother of the twins Tia and Tamara and, despite a mix-up that has followed the family for decades, not a twin himself. Remarkably, he was performing before either sister broke through, debuting at 4 on Who's the Boss and then settling into the role of Teddy, Michelle Tanner's best friend, on Full House, which placed him before millions long before he headlined anything of his own. That headlining moment arrived in 1997 when he was cast as T.J. Henderson, a young prodigy skipping grades into high school, on Smart Guy. The series ran 3 seasons and, while it never matched Sister's longevity, earned a loyal following as one of the more fondly remembered Black family sitcoms of its time. His work proved equally durable, as Wade Lode, the unflappable tech genius advising the heroine of Disney's Kim Possible. He voiced one of the show's most cherished characters across its 4-season run from 2002 to 2007. Here is what distinguishes him from so many on this list. He never truly disappeared. Between 2012 and 2017, he played Tucker Dobbs on the freeform sitcom Baby Daddy for 6 complete seasons, a substantial adult television run that confirmed his staying power. He has also recorded music, releasing the single Flirt in 2015, and has remained publicly close with his sisters throughout his adult life. Taj Mowry is 39. His career never detonated into tabloid spectacle, and it never imploded either. In an industry that hands so many child performers a dazzling ascent followed by a punishing fall, his unhurried, decade-spanning persistence is its own form of the extraordinary, the rare, reassuring tale of a child actor who simply matured into a working adult and kept on going, without ever needing the wreckage to make the story interesting. Shadia Simmons. She ranked among Disney Channel's most thoughtful young performers, and she traded the prospect of a comeback for a classroom. Born in 1986 in Toronto, Canada, Shadia Simmons began acting in early childhood, surfacing in the 1996 television adaptation of Harriet the Spy. Her defining breakthrough came in 2000 with The Color of Friendship, a Disney Channel original movie drawn from the true story of a white South African exchange student placed during the apartheid era with the family of a Black United States congressman. She portrayed Piper Dellums, daughter of Congressman Ron Dellums, a young woman compelled to navigate a wrenching personal and political collision when the exchange student arrives carrying beliefs forged under apartheid. It was a role of authentic gravity, and Shadia shouldered it with a poise that startled critics, helping the film secure a Humanitas Prize and an Emmy for Outstanding Children's Program. Decades later, it is still screened in classrooms, standing as one of the most substantive things Disney Channel ever produced on the subjects of race and human dignity. She continued through the early 2000s, Zenon, the sequel in 2001, then a 4-year stint as Corinne Baxter, the determined science student on the Canadian science fiction series Strange Days at Blake Holsey High from 2002 to 2006, a show that, though little known in the United States, gathered a devoted audience through its thoughtful blend of mystery and adolescent drama. When that series wrapped, she made a choice most of her peers could scarcely fathom. She left to pursue an education. She finished her undergraduate studies, advanced into graduate-level work, and transitioned into teaching, becoming an educator, working with children and young adults in Canada. Shadia Simmons is approximately 39. Her departure from Hollywood was never a failure. It was a story of priority, the conscious selection of a life of direct impact over one of reflected glow. In a business that rarely permits anyone to leave with grace, she simply walked out the door, and the students who sit in her classroom are unmistakably the richer for it. Kyle Massey. He shared an imaginary bedroom with one of Disney Channel's biggest names, yet the chapter that came afterward is one his audience rarely glimpsed with any clarity. Born Christopher Kyle Massey on August 28, 1991, in Atlanta, Georgia, he arrived on That's So Raven in 2003 as Corey Baxter, Raven's scheming, endearing, relentlessly enterprising younger brother, and his comic instincts handed the series a family chemistry that felt authentic and lived in. That popularity earned him a spin-off of his own. Corey in the House, which premiered in 2007, trailed the character to the White House after his father became the president's personal chef and ran 2 seasons, making Massey one of the very few Disney Channel actors to headline 2 series before turning 20. In 2010, he reached a broader, older audience on the 11th season of Dancing with the Stars, finishing in 3rd place and stepping out from the shadow of the character who had defined him. After Disney, the professional terrain narrowed considerably. Guest spots and minor projects trickled in, but no steady network anchor returned, and what surfaced instead were legal matters. In 2021, prosecutors in Washington state charged him with a felony tied to alleged improper communication with a minor, an accusation that traced back to a 2019 civil lawsuit which had previously been dismissed. Massey has firmly and consistently denied the allegations, and the matter has remained unresolved in the public record. These are grave claims, and fairness requires that they be presented as exactly what they are: allegations he disputes, never established in a court of law. An accusation is not a verdict, and it would be wrong to treat it as one. Kyle Massey is 34. His Disney years stand among the most genuinely funny, high-energy children's television of the 2000s, and a generation grew up laughing along with Corey Baxter. What awaits him is uncertain, and it will demand far more than the charm that once made that character beloved. But the remainder of his story, much like the legal questions surrounding him, has yet to be written. 12 children, 12 different roads. Some walked away with their heads held high and chose lives of quiet dignity. Some were robbed by the very people meant to protect them. Some are still fighting battles the cameras never showed us. But here's the question nobody wants to answer honestly. Was Hollywood the villain that chewed up these kids and spit them out? Or did fame simply expose cracks that were already there? In families, in systems, in all of us? There's no easy answer, only your honest one. Tell me in the comments which story stayed with you. And if you grew up watching these faces, subscribe to Hidden Celebrity Stories. Because these children deserve to be remembered as the people they really were.